Where do you rank among retirees? Two households each could have $1 million and end up in very different places. One is traveling without worry, while the other is still stressed about covering the basics. The number did not change, but the plan did. So today I'm going to be replacing the idea of a magic number with a simple 6-level pyramid that shows you what is already covered, what is at risk, and how to climb to that next level using the money you already have. For those of you who are new here, I'm Eric Rodriguez. I'm a certified financial planner with more than 20 years in the industry. I work with retirees virtually around the country at my firm, WealthBuilders, LLC, where we specialize in helping you protect and grow your wealth with a tax-smart plan. So here's the roadmap for this video. We will climb a 6-level pyramid, and that's going to consist of surviving, growing, comfortable, secure, freedom, and legacy. At each level, I will explain what the level is, why it matters right now, and how to use your current numbers to maximize your retirement. So let's jump into how we should define this. What is the real scoreboard? The problem with round number savings targets is simple. A balance in a portfolio is not a plan. Retirement is honestly a cash flow system. The true scoreboard is your coverage ratio, which is the percentage of your annual spending that is funded reliably by Social Security, any pension or annuity income, plus a conservatively stress-tested withdrawal plan from your portfolio. There is one more definition we need to climb, or we need to know before we climb, and that is sequent risk, which is the danger that poor market returns early in retirement, when you've already started taking withdrawals, shrink the portfolio so much that average returns later cannot catch up. So if you have two families with the same average return and the same balance, can have very different outcomes if the order of returns is different. Those two ideas, coverage ratio and sequence risk, explain why a single dollar target often misleads people. With that foundation in place, let's climb the pyramid. At each level, I will give you the what. Again, I will show you the why, and then I will give you the how that uses your current numbers. Let's start off at level 1. Level 1 is surviving. At the surviving level, essentials are tight, savings are modest, and most income will come from Social Security and possibly a small pension. Your essential expenses, housing, food, utilities, basic transportation, core insurance, and baseline healthcare are close to covered but not fully funded without trade-offs. So at this level, a single surprise can derail your whole plan. A larger than expected medical bill or a jump in prices can create anxiety and force hard choices because there's little buffer. Hope often stands in for structure, and that keeps your stress levels really, really high. You could start by pricing your essential budget precisely and annualize it. Pull your Social Security estimates and model 3 claiming ages: 62, your full retirement age, typically 67, and 70. So you can see the trade-offs. Close any gaps with a small set of high leverage moves. Delaying a benefit to increase guaranteed income, right-sizing housing, trimming fixed bills, and adding 6 to 12 months of work or part-time income to build a cash buffer. Aim to build a 6 to 12 month cash reserve dedicated to essential expenses. Okay, so for example, if your essential expenses are $3,800 per month and your combined Social Security at your full retirement age is $2,900 per month, you have a $900 monthly shortfall. So delaying one earner to age 70 and maybe adding $600 per month of part-time income while you build cash can largely close the gap without taking additional market risk. With essentials secured, we focus on growth and stability. So let's move on to level 2, which is growing. At the growing level, savings are often in the range of $250,000 to $500,000. Although the right range always depends on lifestyle. Essentials are mostly covered when you combine Social Security with modest portfolio withdrawals, discretionary spending is still very fragile. The biggest risk is the early retirement market dip. If markets are flat or down in your first few years, sequence risk can force you to cut spending or sell investments at the wrong time. You want to choose a conservative initial withdrawal rate, often around 3.5% to 4.5%, depending on your mix, and stress test that immediately. And ask yourself, what happens if the first 3 years are flat or down? And what happens if inflation runs 1 percentage point higher than the expected for a decade? Bridge to stronger Social Security by keeping some income, such as consulting or part-time work, for a year or two, so that you can delay claiming and lock in those higher guaranteed benefits. You also want to sequence your accounts for tax efficiency. Typically your taxable accounts first, then your traditional pre-tax IRAs, things like that, 401ks, then Roth, and then what you want to do is you want to consider small Roth conversions in lower income years to reduce the future tax drag. At a 12-month cash bucket, so you are not forced to sell shares after a downturn. So as an illustration, let's say you have $400,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate. You're targeting about $16,000 per year from the portfolio. Adding $34,000 per year, hypothetically from Social Security at age 67, gives you roughly $50,000 of coverage. If the portfolio declines by 15% in years 1 and 2, a cash bucket and a simple guardrail policy, which we'll talk more about in future videos, that trims after weak years can keep your lifestyle steady without the panic selling. So with growth tools in place, we build comfort and resilience. All right, let's move on to level 3, which is the comfortable level. At the comfortable level, savings for many households fall between $500,000 and $750,000. Coverage often reaches 70% to 80% when you combine conservative withdrawals with Social Security. You finally feel on track, but the plan is still sensitive to those early year shocks. Healthcare decisions and market timing can still derail a good plan if you ignore them. Medicare premiums, income thresholds that trigger surcharges, and downturns early in retirement can push a borderline plan into uncomfortable territory. So you want to try to do this. Split your spending into fixed and variable categories. You want to target your fixed essentials with your guaranteed income again by adjusting Social Security timing, electing pensions options carefully, and if appropriate, using potentially maybe a small fee-only annuity to cover a specific essential bill. Or if you have other fixed income, we could do that as well. And then what you want to do is you want to model the Medicare premiums and potential IRMA surcharges so you're not surprised by higher costs. Stress test a 20% drawdown in the first 2 years and confirm your cash bucket carries your planned withdrawals without selling shares. So for example, let's say you have $650,000, you're pulling out 4.2%, starting withdrawal targets at about roughly $27,000 per year from the portfolio. And then you add your Social Security, which is roughly $38,000 at age 67. That's going to cover roughly $65,000. So if a 20% early drawdown reduces sustainable withdrawals to about $22,000, a 15-month cash bucket and an inflation-linked bond ladder potentially earmarked for years 3 through 7 can keep your essentials funded and allow you to avoid selling at the bottom. So again, with comfort established, we harden the plan into security. All right, moving on to level 4, which is the secure level. At the secure level, your retirement savings are often between $750,000 and $1 million for an average cost lifestyle. So coverage typically reaches 80 to 90% when you blend Social Security, pensions, and conservative portfolio withdrawals. This is the level where many people finally set a retirement date. Get that $1 million bucks, that's it, I'm retiring, I'm good. But you gotta be aware of that false security. $1 million in a high cost city like San Francisco, New York, San Diego, LA, for instance, with a mortgage and higher healthcare costs, that can behave a lot more like level 3. So we have to be mindful of that. In a low cost region, it may feel close to level 5, but we have to account for inflation and taxes. Those can erode a plan that looks fine on paper. We want to have inflation-proof essentials. So we want to be able to ensure our spending by building some type of ladder of maybe tips or short-term treasuries and even CDs, for the next 5 to 7 years of your essential withdrawals. Then what we can do is we can use your Roth conversion window, the period after you retire and before your required minimum distributions begin, to lower future taxes and reduce the chance of Medicare surcharges, AKA phantom tax. So simplify your portfolio to a durable allocation you can stick with through those drawdowns. You also want to scope a long-term care strategy, whether that is self-funding with a dedicated bucket, adding insurance, or using a hybrid approach. So as an example, let's say you have $900,000 at a 4% withdrawal. You're going to target $36,000 from the portfolio. And then let's just say hypothetically another $44,000 of Social Security. So that gives you $80,000 of coverage. So a 5-year tips ladder covering $25,000 per year of essentials plus 12 months of cash, that keeps the market swings away from your basics, while 2 years of planned Roth conversions can reduce your future required minimum distributions, and again, the potential IRMA exposure. So with security dialed in, we design freedom with intention. Let's move on to level 5, which is freedom. So at the freedom level, savings often fall from $1 million to $2 million, depending on your lifestyle. Your desired lifestyle is fully funded and you have a cushion for experiences, generosity, and flexibility. So the risk here shifts from can we retire to are we using these years on purpose? Many retirees underspend early and regret missed experiences, while others overspend early and compress risk into the first decade. Timing and intention becomes as important as the math is. Again, we want to adopt a guardrail withdrawal strategy that gives you a raise after strong years and trims after weak years. So think of it as cruise control for your retirement distributions or withdrawal strategy. You have a basic withdrawal that you're taking, and depending on the year, so let's say metaphorically speaking, you're driving 65 miles an hour on the freeway, but if in quote unquote good markets, the market does well over your 4% withdrawal rate, maybe that upper guardrail is 6% as an example. And then if we have a down here, maybe that bottom guardrail is 2%. So again, depending on where we're at, we can adjust the withdrawal rate. So we want to be able to have that flexibility when markets swing up or down. We could also pre-fund big ticket goals with a sinking fund so they don't distort your annual withdrawal plan. We can add tax smart giving strategies such as donor advised funds or qualified charitable distributions if you're eligible, to align generosity with tax efficiency. So again, what you could do too is you could right size your investment risk to your personal sleep at night level rather than chasing this arbitrary return. So for instance, let's say you have $1.4 million and you're doing a 4% withdrawal target. So that's $56,000 from the portfolio. Then you're adding another $45,000 of Social Security. So that covers about $101,000. So pre-funding a $30,000 trip, for instance, over 24 months avoids a single year spike and guardrails that trim by 10%. So after a weak year, you could preserve your experiences without overreacting. So this is why retirement planning has to be dynamic, because you can try to do what you can to keep your cash flow sustainable and your plan working. And lastly, we have the legacy level, level 6. At the legacy level, you consistently produce surplus beyond your lifestyle. All essentials and discretionary goals are secure, and you have capacity for impact beyond your own needs. Without a clear design, taxes and complexity quietly erode what could have been generosity and multi-generational stability. So families can inherit dollars without context, which often leads to confusion, friction, or waste. So you want to clarify your legacy objectives, including the balance you want between heirs, philanthropy, and community. Set the estate structure with accurate beneficiary designations, proper titling and trust if they are appropriate. Build a multi-decade tax map that minimizes leakage across your lifetime and your heirs' lifetimes. You can consider a strategic gifting plan, such as funding, a donor-advised fund in those strong tax years, making qualified charitable distributions from IRAs when eligible, and supporting education, if it makes sense, through 529s and ESA accounts. Create a simple family governance plan that communicates the why behind your gifts, not just the what. For example, if you have a recurring $25,000 annual surplus, you can fully fund a donor-advised fund in 2 years, coordinate Roth conversions to lower your heirs' future tax rates, and use a straightforward basic trust to clarify distributions and timing. Quick recap. So a balance is not a plan. Your coverage ratio is the scoreboard, and sequence risk explains why rules of thumb can fail early in retirement. Your next move depends on your specific level at surviving, price essentials, carefully timed Social Security, and you want to try to build as much cash as possible. At the growing level, add a cash bucket and guardrails with your distribution strategy while you bridge to a stronger Social Security payout and you handle taxes smartly. At the comfortable level, guarantee essentials, watch healthcare costs, and protect against early downturns. At the secure level, inflation-proof basics, simplify the portfolio, use Roth windows, and scope out long-term care if that makes sense. At the freedom level, schedule experiences, pre-fund big goals, and give in a tax-smart way. And finally, at the legacy level, design your estate and tax map and communicate your values so money transfers with meaning. If you want clarity on your exact level and a customized path to move up, feel free to book a call via the link below. I will create a personalized video around your numbers with your coverage ratio, your sequence risk, and inflation stress test in a one-page quick action plan with your next upgrade highlighted. So again, I only keep a limited number of slots open so I can give each plan the attention it deserves. So if you see availability, feel free to grab it. Again, I'm Eric Rodriguez, certified financial planner. I'm the founder of WealthBuilders LLC. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.